Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. Sorry for the missed episodes this week. I hope the week's gone well, and they certainly do fly by. Here we are on Friday again. Macro thoughts, the dollar, King Dollar. And on that note, I'll put up a silk screen ink and pencil on canvas by Andy Warhol, $201 bills. Home thoughts: a black hole as massive as 12 billion suns has been found and could change theories of how the universe began. Giant black hole as massive as 12 billion suns has been found by astronomers and seems to be growing far too fast. The black hole is not the biggest that is known, but is far bigger than scientists would expect to be at its age. And it's really extraordinary. I looked into cosmology, and it's a fascinating subject. You must, it's really worth having a look at it. Martin Rees' good entry book to start with. And it's so fascinating how things happen at the super macro level of our universe. I'm looking forward to being in London this year, I really am. And I like this twit pic that Mark Kirsten tweeted yesterday: switch on the summer from a slot machine. London yesterday. Spring is coming. I took this photograph at 6:05 a.m. of Nairobi outside my window, and I'm having to leave extraordinarily early because of the extraordinary, phenomenal, parabolic surge in traffic that we're seeing here. I used to leave at 6:25, get to my office at 5 to 7, then one 6:25 departure got me here at 7:40, and I've now gone to leaving at 5:45. Been here in Nairobi for 8 years. Somebody was asking me yesterday. It's been very non-linear. You can't forget, we were booming just before the election and then came to a complete standstill. Now picking up speed, and if traffic's anything to go by, plenty of big momentum. And I have to say that the demand curve has turned parabolic in point of fact, so that's exciting. That took me to my song that I like by Kanye West, I Wonder. And he sings, I wonder if you know what it means, and I wonder if you know what it means to find your dreams. I've edited some of them more. Some of the song. I've been waiting on this my whole life. These dreams be waking me up at night. You say I think I'm never wrong. You know what? Maybe you're right. And he says, I'm back on my grind. A psychic read my lifeline, told me in my lifetime my name would help light up the Chicago skyline. And that's why I'm 7 o'clock, that's prime time. You've got to admire his chutzpah. Political reflections: media outlets identify Jihadi John from ISIL videos. I'm not convinced this is the right identification. I thought it was that other fellow who was a rapper. But the point of this image is what Paul Virilio says, that images contaminate us like viruses. And indeed this image of him, this beheader at large, what a strange fellow, but interesting granularity. ISIS murderer Mohammed Mwazi is Londoner and has been on the MI5's radar since 2009, as most of these people are. As the world's media descended on the addresses where Mwazi was raised, ranging from an £800,000 mansion block apartment in Maida Vale to his last known address on a gritty West London estate, 26-year-old moved to England at the age of 6, first came to the attention of MI5 in 2009, was detained with 2 others while travelling to Tanzania for a safari holiday. Intelligence officers believed it was a cover for an attempt to join the Al-Shabaab terror group in Somalia. His week-long in detention in Africa, apparently on British orders, and questioning by an MI5 officer were revealed by The Independent in 2010. And so many of these characters don't belong in the countries in which they're fighting. They've come from somewhere else. And it takes me back to Albert Camus and his L'étranger, which, if you invert that, because that was about a white man who feels out of place. But these guys also similarly feel out of place in the host countries. It's interesting that it's not coming from the ground where these disputes are happening. It's sort of become global. It's the globalization of terror. The terrorists are globalists. Putin said Kiev's decision of cutting gas supplies to Donbass looks like genocide. And in that article, an interesting point, the speed of making and implementing decisions is much faster on the Russian side, and that obviously puts Russia at an advantage. The pain can be inflicted faster than the remedy can be administered. And Bloomberg is saying Russia is damaging Ukraine's economy faster than the US and its European allies can provide support. That's the conclusion of investors who have sent the price of Ukrainian bonds to record lows, even as the country awaits $17.5 billion of emergency loans from the IMF. Its currency, the hryvnia, has lost about half of its value this month, forcing the central bank to tighten capital controls to keep money from fleeing the country. It is clear the country has a powerful neighbor intent on destabilizing it, while the West simply doesn't care enough about Ukraine to do anything with significant costs attached. I don't think Ukrainian bonds and the hryvnia are especially cheap. I conclude by saying, on the ground, I think Putin has absolutely pounded Kiev, and you've seen that. It's too obvious, it can't be hidden. But the financial warfare that the 21st century oil warfare specialist Barack Obama launched on him has been brutal and just as red in tooth and claw as Putin's response on the ground. Netanyahu is to visit the US Congress. Independent to saying that straining relations, you can say that again, but I think the fact that he's prepared to go over the head of the President of the United States in this situation means that he feels that Iran must be extremely close to a done deal. John Pilger says the rise of fascism is again the issue. Fascism is preserved as history, as flickering footage of goose-stepping black shirts, their criminality terrible and clear. Yet in the same liberal societies whose war-making elites urge us to never to forget the accelerating danger of a modern kind of fascism is suppressed, for it is their fascism. Like the fascism of the 1930s and the 1940s, big lies are delivered with the precision of a metronome, thanks to an omnipresent repetitive media and its virulent censorship by omission. Take the catastrophe in Libya. In 2011, NATO launched 9,700 strike sorties against Libya, of which more than a third were aimed at civilian targets. Uranium warheads were used. The cities of Misrata and Sirte were carpet bombed. The Red Cross identified mass graves, and UNICEF reported that most of the children killed were under the age of 10. The public sodomizing of the Libyan President Muammar Gaddafi with a rebel bayonet. I've written about that previously, I'm not going to bore you with it again. And then it saw this in the counterpunch in a rather ghastly 19th century experiment. A biologist by the name of Heinzmann found that if he placed a frog in boiling water, the frog immediately leapt out, but that if he placed the frog in tepid water, then gradually heated it, the frog stayed put until he was scalded to death. And the question is, are we like the frog? The Fed's Bullard says he sees a spring price rebound and a summer rate hike. The Federal Reserve should make a change to its policy statement, he said, next month that would allow it to monitor inflation readings through the spring and then hike interest rates sometime in the summer, a top Fed official said on Thursday. St. Louis President James Bullard said on CNBC the U.S. Central Bank should drop the word patient from its statement at a March 17, March 18 meeting in order to provide optionality going forward. Currency markets, the euro had a torrid session. Last time I checked was around 112.20. Dollar index 95.14, just inches off a 1 month high set on Thursday. rallied 1.1% on Thursday, bringing to close to a more than 11-year high on the dollar index. Japanese yen 119.27, Swissy 0.9503, pound 154 level, Aussie 0.7795. These commodity currencies, pound, Aussie, rand, had gotten ahead of themselves big time. India rupee 61.85, South Korean won back at 1100, Rial 290.87, Egyptian pound 763.10. The rand, which I said to you yesterday looked expensive, back at above 1150 at 1154.46. On the 12th of January, I said my view was that the euro-dollar exchange rate is headed to parity and even lower in 2015. Goldman Sachs was talking about parity in 2016, but I think, I said this in January, that the unraveling will happen in 2015 and a lot more quickly. And I stand by that. I'll put up a chart, a 3-month chart of the euro dollar. I'm looking for parity. I'm actually looking for 0.93, point of fact. Dollar index 95.14. San Francisco Fed President John Williams and St. Louis Fed Chief James Bullard both suggested on Thursday that the US central bank might end its near-zero interest rate policies sooner than some traders expect. And I've been referencing this quite a few times. On the 12th of Jan, I said the US economy is the comeback kid of 2015. I said I think the Fed is just one headline economic print from raising interest rates. And I said then a rate hike, even as small as 0.25%, will be the catalyst for a renewed surge in the dollar. And I said the dollar index is headed a lot higher by the dollar. Then I wrote the other piece about King Dollar, talking about job creation running at the fastest pace since 1997, referencing the music of that period because it was so long ago, and going back to the notorious B.I.G. and Hypnotize. That link is also on Rich Rabbits if you want to get a feel for it. 29th of September 2014, I was talking about a small window for sharks as the dollar rises, and I'll put up the shark from Dubai Mall. Samsung is going to launch its Galaxy 6 in Barcelona this weekend, and they're saying users will be able to enter a new wireless world like never before. Coming back, Ali Naimi has been doing a lot of chit-chat trying to support the price of oil. Is probably not comfortable with it below 50. Demand is growing and markets are calm, he said. He's trying to talk it up. I still, I wrote on the 13th of October that conditions were optimal for a complete washout, down as far as $50 a barrel. We went through that. We're trading below it. I'll put up a 1-month chart, but I still feel we're yet to see our 2015 lows put in place. Gold 1210.37. I think that's going a lot lower. Ian Bremer says Ebola defeated on Twitter. Put up this infographic, which I'll put up. On the 16th of Feb, I spoke of the fact that monies that were marked with the tag destination Lagos have been rerouted to destination Johannesburg, Cairo and Nairobi. The South African all-share closed up 7.25% yesterday in 2015. That's a fresh record all-time high. It's raced ahead this year. And on that note, I'll put up that photograph of Kyalami, Johannesburg, that I like. Dollar rand 1154.46. Putting up a 6-month chart that heads to 12 in my view. Egyptian pound 763.10. The central bank kept its benchmark interest rates unchanged. Overnight deposit rate remains at 8.75%. Overnight lending rate is steady at 9.75%. Egyptian stock market has given back some of its early gains it saw in January, but it remains up 4.6% year to date. Nigeria down 13.31%, snapped an 8-session winning streak in the context of a very torrid start to the year, still down 13.31% year to date. Ghana Stock Exchange down 4.35% year to date, but the important thing is Ghana has clinched a 3-year IMF funding deal worth $940 million. Africa Department Division Chief Joel Tujas Banate said the short-term priority was to stabilize Ghana's economy. We are confident that the program will enable the authorities to achieve their objectives, he told Reuters. We see the prospects at somewhat of a lower level of growth than we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years, because indeed this period of large spending through large public borrowing now will not be able to continue, he said in an interview. My conclusions are President Mahama finally dialed up Madame Lagarde at the IMF. And I wrote about this in June when Mahama was still talking about a homegrown solution. And I said, look at Ghana, where the president claims he's looking for a homegrown solution to a situation of his making. And frankly, there isn't one. So, it's a positive step. Diageo, the maker of Guinness beer and Johnny Walker whiskey, wants Africa to account for 20% of its sales after investing more than $1 billion in the continent over the last 5 years. This is the CEO, Ivan Menezes. The ambition to make the African operation one of the pillars of the next decade, boost takings from the current share of 13%, will play out in growing nations such as Ethiopia, Menezes said. He declined to say when he expected to reach the goal. Africa is hugely important for Diageo, and Ethiopia is going to be one of the cornerstone markets for us in the future. So I see Africa growing faster than the Diageo average, both in beer and in spirits. The two go hand in hand. If you haven't seen the interview I did with Charles Ireland, who runs Diageo's business in this region, that's EABL, do have a look at it. Plenty of detail, granularity, lots of interesting comments. Kenyan Wall Street tweeted, Bloomberg ranks Kenya's growth third globally. Have a look at the infographic he tweeted. If you haven't seen Joshua's presentation from yesterday on the release of his full year earnings, it's about 20 minutes, very interesting. Take a look. We've uploaded that on YouTube and it's on Rich Wrap-Ups. They reported very strong results. A little bit of disappointment yesterday because of an unchanged dividend. But I think the price will react towards 66. You're seeing a big build-up in demand. BAT Kenya reported full-year profit before tax accelerated 11%. The share price is down 3.3% year-to-date. Turnover up 7%. The company said driven by incremental contract manufacturing volumes from the DRC. Cash generated from operations increased significantly by 31%. We continue to invest in the Nairobi hub. It's got strong earnings and it's the preeminent dividend stock at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. They pay out 99.88% of their EPS as a dividend. KenGen released first half profit after tax, where it accelerated 106.42%. It's trading sharply higher today, naturally. Revenue from electricity sales rose 37%. Total revenue rose to 12.18 billion from 8.92 billion. They are planning to raise cash for expansion. The company will carry out a cash call of about 30 billion shillings. It's been telegraphed. It's been a big drag on the share price for quite a while. Stronger margins, some capacity expansion. The capital call needs to get underway because it's been a drag for a while. And the other issue is, there's a very thin sliver of equity in the business right now. It's on a very cheap forward PE, but the question is, you've got this massive dilutive cash call coming. It's a bit difficult to value it, but it looks cheap. Pan-Africa reported full year profit after tax declined. They'd already warned. Let me just give you, property sales underperformed due to depressed market, did not get gains from property sales or mark-to-market gains in their portfolio year on year. They're citing that. They warned, but the warning came out on the 18th of February, would you believe, just a few days before they released their full year results. But what's caught everyone's attention is trading highs. They've recommended a bonus dividend of 1 new share for every 2 held in lieu of a cash dividend. Unga reported very strong first half results. Profit before tax up 78.045%. Revenue up pretty much across the board. Improved financial performance attributable to the full period impact of capacity and efficiency gains from the new wheat mill and gains from the sale of group's investment in Bullpack Limited. Increased sifted maize meal volumes realized as a consequence of a 25% average decline in finished product prices. Strong earnings. Nairobi All share ticked lower, but it's up 8.03% year to date for a storming start, and just 0.87% below record high. NSE 20 at more than 6-year highs is up 7.11% year to date. Jamii Bora, according to the Business Daily, has ousted the government of Kenya's Uchumi's top shareholder. That sent Uchumi trading practically limit up. Once again, thank you for stopping by. Wishing you a tremendous weekend.